Spacebird Media.
Walking through the shadows, got my head held high.
I believe in the power that lifts you to the sky.
With every step I'm taking, feel the fire at night. Rocks in and ace, we're ready for the fight. With faith we'll soar, our spirits will break. Together we'll rise for the dreams that we make. Unlimited style, unlimited faith, unlimited love, unlimited grace. Just you can be who you are, and when you are unlimited, you're a star.
Welcome to Good Friday. It is Roxanne and Ace Unlimited. We love Holy Week. We love celebrating Easter weekend. Also knowing that as you are getting together with your family, are you wearing white? Are you wearing pink? What is it that's going this year? I don't know what the trend is, but you do you. Look your best. I want to say thanks to My Brother's Cup, 4C Mortgage, and looking forward to Pastor Eugene giving us an amazing perspective on Easter. Roxanne, how are you?
I am doing great. Looking forward to Easter. Big tradition in the family. We have everybody come. Everybody cooks.
Yeah.
Plays games all day. Celebrates, prays. It's super fun. So we're looking forward to it. But I have a new item that I want. It is a Blue Origin rocket outfit, an astronaut outfit.
Yeah.
All the ladies and Katy Perry, whoever
Yeah.
designed them, hello. And we've discussed this. I would go to space in a moment. They were there 11 minutes. I
Right.
would be thrilled to do that. Now, a lot of people think this Blue Origin flight, all female flight with Oprah's best friend, Gayle King, and Katy Perry is a big waste of money and a big waste of time and super silly. And Katy coming off the rocket and kissing the ground was a little bit dramatic.
Yeah.
Do you think? A lot of criticism of it. But here's the thing I'm thinking. It makes the thought of any of us being able to go to space that much closer. Like they just sent 11 ladies up for 11 minutes. Why couldn't I, before I pass, hold a baby panda and feed it and go to space in a cute blue space costume?
See, I would be the guy that just really wants to have the blue costume. I don't necessarily need to go to space. It's like that episode of The Cosby Show where they wanted to take flying lessons, but they realized how expensive it was, and so they just got the aviator jackets instead. And they're like, we can just walk around with our shades, and we're in flight school. That would be me.
I love it. Well, Jelly Roll, we've talked about him on the show before. He's a country singer who does an Alleluia song with Brandon Lake that Christians are in love with. And he even says, and I saw this and flipped out on TikTok, that he is talking to God about, do you want me to be a pastor? I mean, whoa. And his wife's like, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for you for that.
Sure.
But I bring him up. He's lost 200 pounds. And when you're over 500 pounds, losing 200 pounds for the average person would be losing, you wouldn't be here anymore.
Right.
But he started out at 540. He's at 200. I think that's a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely. Well, I remember for those that are fans of Meatloaf, when he slimmed down, everybody was like, wow, this is amazing. He's like, look, this is as skinny as a guy that's called Meatloaf is going to get, but I'm at least healthy enough to live. And, and he added, years to his life as a result of it. So I am a huge fan. I don't know enough of his music. I mean, I am in love with the Alleluia song. But I will say that I know enough of the songs I've heard. You feel every lyric. And that's what I think I love, is while it's not necessarily songs that are catchy and you sing along or rap along, but this guy's been through some stuff and he is not afraid to talk about it. And he talks about it very candid.
Well, and when he's running from the cops as a major drug dealer, physically running, and you're over 500 pounds, he couldn't really run very well. And the officer tackled him. And the officer's trying to cuff him, and it was like he was on top of him.
Sure.
And the officer said, I'm sorry, man, you'll be okay. And then's trying to get this enormous man cuffed. Yeah. And he said it was well, really so embarrassing. And I'm laughing, but when he tells the story, it is quite funny.
Sure.
I don't know. He needs to have a book or a movie or something. Maybe the Irwin brothers.
I'm sure. Oh, there you go.
Movie.
That would be fantastic.
The idea was born here
That's
on
right.
Roxanne Denise,
That's right.
Unlimited.
I mean, if they're willing to do a Mercy Me Part 2, like I didn't realize they were going to do that until like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, well, okay, there's more of the story. Bring it on. So Jelly Roll needs his own movie or miniseries even.
I think so. So we are just so excited. It's Easter. It's almost here. And it is the pinnacle, the center of our faith.
Yep.
And I just want to take a moment to think that the Marys, Mary Magdalene and the other, approaching a scene, and they didn't know what they would find.
Yeah.
And there they see an angel who says, don't be afraid, because I know you were looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, just as he said. And then go, he says to the woman, quickly go and tell his disciples. They went quickly with fear and great joy. And then they run into Jesus. Can you imagine? You're fleeing the tomb. You've seen an angel. You know the Lord is risen. And then you see him? Yeah. Wow.
So I wanted to ask you, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I know you trust me. What's Lent been for you this year? Like, how has the 40 days been? Has it been anything auspicious?
It's social media that I have lessened, and that's been really good for my mental health. I love social media, but it's gotten me. I'm just gonna. I used to spend. Well, you know how much time I was on Facebook. If someone walked across the street and they post, I would know. Yeah. Okay, so I had to say, is that enriching me? Is that deepening my faith? And it doesn't. And the vitriol of hatred between the political parties is getting on my nerves. I don't want to hear screaming Democrats mad, and I don't want to hear screaming Republicans mad. I'm sorry, I'm a conservative person, but I don't lead with, I hate this, so I hate this idea. And my first, I don't know. So there was what I lessened. Yeah. But I will say, fasting, you're dealing with your body groaning. Yeah. Your body is screaming. And I think when you take a moment to say, I've got mastery over this, I can do all things through Christ. I think there's a real point in that journey where you hear from him just clear as a bell, because I have mastery over things of the flesh. Yeah. If that makes any sense. So it's been a really good season. I can't say it's been easy, but I think anything worth doing is not necessarily going to be easy. How about for you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I can tell you what time it is based on how my body feels because of the fasting. Like, I'm like, it must be getting close to dinner time, But yeah, not so much. I didn't back away from social media because I was feeling all of the angst from people, just so much as that there was a lot of time involved, especially when you and I have the kind of job that social media is a part of our job. So when you have that, and then there's the social side of social media, it can sometimes be overwhelming. So the energy, I enjoyed these 40 days of the energy I got back by when I would normally be on social media. I was either reading a book, listening to music, or doing nothing, like just sitting and drinking my coffee or talking to my wife or whatever it was, but just having the extra energy that I wasn't wasting in an area that I didn't necessarily think it was depleting me as much as it was. But I also love the fact that I think this is definitely a new norm that I can live in, because then when people go, hey, did you see? I go, no, I hadn't been on in 4 days, or I haven't been on in 40 days. Like it's that kind of a thing. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she sends me cute baby videos, and she's like, did you see? Oh, no, you're on a fast. Like she's, and she sounds nothing like that, so I apologize. But all of that to say, I hope that whatever it was like for you in any season that you're in, that you don't need Lent to start over or to start some kind of fast or purge or cleansing. But what is the thing that's getting in the way between you and God being as close as you possibly can and need to be? don't ever be afraid to just start that journey. So if Lent is what reminds us of that journey, and it is the definitive end and beginning, kind of like a New Year's resolution, so to speak, it's not a matter of I'm doing this for a showy sake. I'm doing this for the sake of that I need God to be as close to me as I can possibly stand it. And so that's what I hope we all got out of it, so that we can then on Easter celebrate risen Savior. We can say all the things that we weren't allowed to say during, and then sing all the songs we love, right?
You got to love it. And then you can get the teens to open up and talk during a gathering. I thought this would be a good thing for us to talk about, considering a lot of us will be at Easter gatherings. Here's what most adults say to teenagers. Oh, you've gotten so big. They hate that. Yeah. Oh my goodness, you've grown. Yeah, I know. What else can we talk about? How's school going? No teenager likes to be asked that.
Yeah.
And so we got to train people what sorts of things to ask teenagers. And this is simple, but I think it's really good. What sport do you play? Do you have a job? What do you really love about whatever hobby that they're doing?
Yeah.
And here's something brilliant. And somebody's going to do this. A grandmother went to her grandson and said, I want to see what you watch on TikTok, and I want you to show me how to do TikTok. They were 2 hours on TikTok.
That's good.
And they connected, and it was something that interests the teenager that he could show his grandma.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and as someone who has teens still at home, they're both in show mode right now. So it's easy for me to just go, how was rehearsal? And then they just, about how it went. And depending upon, how tired they are, I can tell by the groans and, like the bruises on my daughter's legs. Like she's got big knees, that are swelling from where she's been dancing all over the stage. But I think that's the thing, is that kids want to be a part of our lives. So like when my kid comes and sits on the couch, she just wants to be in the room with us, talking about whatever she wants to talk about or whatever's going on. That's a typical teenager, but we tend to change what we're talking about, or we tend to muffle ourselves or go, well, hey, we're watching a show. Can we see you later? And which of course sends a whole nother message. Like there's nothing that I could be doing, especially with adult daughters and teens. Like they're not going to be in the house much longer. What I wouldn't give to go sit on the couch with my teenage daughter that's now getting ready to get married, or that's getting ready to move out on her own. Like those are moments that are gone, right? And and I mean, I also miss 4-year-old them too, but that's why when I'm a grandfather, I'm going to have every day I can with them. So I digress. But being interested in the things that they're interested in, because like I think about my relationship with my dad. We used to go out in the street and we play basketball, and both of us are terrible. We're white Southern men. Like we're not good at this game. And all of that I think about, like we found out later in life, the things that we did like, whether it was certain artists or music, or, we did like playing a round of golf together a couple of times. And again, another sport we were bad at, but it was the conversation we were having while we were shooting the hoops and while we were hitting the balls and, listening to the music or watching the ball game even. Like those are the things that we're bonding over, which left a lasting impression. So now when we talk, we're like, hey, did you see the game the other night? Or, hey, have you heard this new album? Like the new Alison Krauss that just came out. I sent that to my parents like the day it dropped. And I was like, hey, there's a new Alison Krauss album. And my mom's like, this album's amazing. So again, that's the teenage version of me connecting with them on something I knew that they loved when I was a teen. I was paying attention, just like I know my teens are paying attention. But I don't want to be the old crotchety guy that's like, oh, look at you. You're quite the scrappy guy. Yeah, I mean, that's not a connection at all.
Really? No. Oh, you've grown. No. Let's not do that. Another thing I don't think we should be doing is one of the new twists in dating. Now, I will admit something. I've been doing little videos and I've been using AI, and it's super fun. Yeah. It is super fun to type in something you envision and have it be created. I can see where it's just catching on. But here's what they're doing with dating, Ace. I just got to get your thoughts on it. So a dude clones himself, including his voice. And then he has his clone interacting with other women's clones. And then when they hit it off, then he gets involved in order to save himself time. Now, just let that sink in. That is actually happening in this world.
That's like a whole episode of Black Mirror. Like that's just
Yes.
like that. Like you meet that way, so that then when it works out digitally, then you're like, yeah, that we should meet in
Right.
real life.
What? And here and
crazy.
here's and he preps the clone. The clone's voice is him.
Yeah.
But he preps the clone with his likes and his preferences and how he converses. And then the clone is sifting, because it's a computer, through hundreds of women rather than him vetting 10 of them. It's like, wow, it kind of blows. It's like these new wolves that they brought back from extinction. It's like, what are we going to do next?
Well,
You know?
and is it working? Like, did he meet Miss Wright?
No,
Okay.
he hasn't.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, an AI image is kind of weird anyway. Like I've seen AI me. It cannot get my eyes right. But I know I have the eyebrow from hell, so it's not like it's easy to know that I don't have a lazy eye. Stop giving me these weird eyeballs. But so I don't know it would work for me if I had to go AI.
Well, it takes the wrinkles off me, so there's a part of me that's like, okay, yeah, I could
Okay,
go
so
for that.
I sent a picture of myself the other day through Snapchat to my wife, and I had used a filter that took out my crow's feet, and she was like, "Look, you're cute and all, but she's like, I want to see you." And so then I found an old man filter with his tongue sticking out and like sent that to her. I was like, "Here it is, baby. Love me or leave me."
Oh my goodness, it's craziness. The resurrection of the Christ. You and I are both super excited that it starts filming, and it starts filming this summer. And Jim Caviezel is back. Now, there's a problem with that. Okay. He's 56. Okay.
Yep.
So, but Mel Gibson said he couldn't imagine anyone else playing Jesus. So he's going to be de-aged
Yeah.
for the role. We can do that effectively in movies now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I didn't realize is Passion of the Christ made 612 million, the highest grossing independent film of all time.
See, and that doesn't surprise me, and I'll tell you why. Because in the same way that at Christmas time we gravitate to our favorite Christmas movie, this is one that we can gravitate to every Easter, every Holy Week. And I mean, I've got friends that I was talking to this week. They're like, yeah, every Good Friday I go home from work and I pull out my DVD and we watch it as a family. And if you haven't seen it, it's gruesome. I mean, out of all the Jesus movies ever made, it grabs, and granted, I wasn't there, but I'm assuming this is as gross as it can be and still have an R rating to what it probably really was like with Jesus' flesh hanging off of his body. But it's hard to watch. Like I still remember to this day going with my buddy Maverick. We were at a radio conference together and it had just released, and we're like, hey, let's get out of the hotel. Let's go to see the movie. And we didn't get popcorn. I think we got a drink each just so that we would have something to hydrate ourselves. And then we just sobbed for 2 hours.
I did too.
And like we didn't even say goodnight. It was like a handshake, see you in the morning. And then the next day, I'm like, you all right? He's like, yeah, you all right? Yeah. Because it physically and soulfully wrecks you. So I cannot watch it again, but the images, as someone who loves movies, the images are burned on my brain after one screening. I'm good. I don't need to be
acting,
reminded. Yeah.
The direction, just all of it, how it was shot, and people had problems with, some things that were embellished.
Yeah.
They're probably going to have a problem with it again, because one of the things they're thinking about doing is going into the future, other realms, a possible trip to hell, and an angel drama. So it is going to be wild.
That's fantastic. I love
I
it.
know.
Well, and something that definitely has made our journey here through the podcast amazing has been Terren Newell, as he's been helping families get into that dream home or to finally afford a home that they've always wanted. And of course, 4C Mortgage is how you can find out what is the open house that you haven't gone to because you're like, we don't qualify, or you got your Equifax and you're looking at that credit score going, no, that ain't happening. With interest rates in the fives right now, and he's working with builders, he can make it happen.
He is such a sweet man, too. He is friends with everybody he's done a mortgage with. I mean, when I run into people, they ask me about Terren Newell, 4C Mortgage. This is a Christian guy, prays with people, makes you feel so comfortable and at ease. And he gets it done. I mean, complicated situations. I had one, and he took great care of us. 4C Mortgage, Alabama and Florida now. And who knows what God's got in store for this incredible man of God.
Yeah, easy for you to set up that appointment, 205-259-1656, or just go to 4cmortgage.com.
So guess what is in style again? During COVID, buffets all died because, well, you were putting your hand on the spoon that went in mutual food and then you're breathing on it with a disease. So poor people, I mean, the people who had, buffets were in trouble. Now, buffet eating is back. It's back big. And the reason is the economy. People are, I went to the grocery store. And I brought home what felt like 3 bags of stuff. And I came in and I put it on the counter. I said, Wayne, does that look like $200 to you? I mean, and I said, there are about 2 meals in there. Now, I needed some other stuff, laundry detergent, what they want for that.
Sure.
Hello.
Oh, I know.
So I see it. But here's where in digging what people are paying for the buffet. We went to that Korean barbecue place, and I described how much I dislike the food. So much so, the thought of it, I could be sick. That's just me. It's not my style. But what it cost? It is not economical. It wasn't for us.
Yeah. And I enjoy, or I should say my wife and I enjoy a nice night out, like just conversation and great food, but I don't want to have to serve myself. If I'm going to pay, I want to be waited on, and I want to be treated with, yes, sir. And how's your drink? And, can I get you another? Like, I want, cater to me. I work hard. I want to play hard. I don't want to be, oh man, I got to wait on the cashews to come out before I can finish my salad. Like, I don't have time for that. Cause I remember as a kid, going to like Shoney's salad bar and loading up with, Catalina and bacon bits, the most unhealthy salad ever. But, I was 7. So my salad preferences have changed quite a bit, which as someone who grows a garden, I don't know, maybe you can get me back into this. I have gotten away from veggies in my salad, and I'm more into like the granolas and the nuts and the, cran raisins and all of that. Like, to me, that with a little bit of a spicy Southwest something is just my jam. I don't even like the traditional salads anymore.
Yeah, I don't grow avocados because that's not the right atmosphere for Zone 8 here in central Alabama.
Yeah.
But if you will add avocado, that healthy fat will make your skin glow. It will improve your health instantly. And some people are like, avocado, but you've had bad stuff at a bad Mexican restaurant. Get it fresh, serve it up, and fall in love with it. That would be my big salad suggestion. And then I hated kale.
Right.
Now I have a whole section of it growing. When it's not full of pesticides or coming out of a bag that it's been in for 3 months, it tastes so good.
See, and I told Tawny last week, I said, what if like after the kids are all grown and, we have our own lives again, like let's move to Italy. It's like ingredients are fresh, cost of living is down, it's beautiful, it's like we can, just wake up to the greatest sunrises. She's like, I'm down. So who knows? One day I'll be having it, but in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy my granola on my salad at home.
I love it. And as we wrap up tonight, dogs making a lot of money on Instagram. I'm talking thousands and thousands for their owners, because when they're cute and you put them in a costume and they're eating, there's a bulldog, and I should know his name because For some reason, TikTok thinks I need to see a lot of this bulldog,
Right.
but he's in outfits and he's eating like popcorn. He's eating people food. And the way he eats, I don't know why I watch it. That's why they keep sending it to me. But these dogs are making their owners rich. I think they're onto something, Ace.
Wow. I would have to get a dog in order for him to do things that would make me rich. I can't get Charlie to, barely move when I need him to. So, I don't know. Maybe him doing nothing is the something. Maybe that's the thing that people, oh, look at him. He's just so lovely. Yeah. He threw up on my rug 2 days ago. How lovely was that?
Well, there's a dog, Monty, on Instagram that is so popular. He's sponsored now. So,
Oh, my.
and his owner says, well, I deserve the money. I'm posting all the time and I'm dressing him up. So, whatever, I can't imagine. Good for her.
I don't want to be a trending sensation. I just want to be me.
Imagine starting your day with a coffee that changes lives. Say hello to Roxanne Blend. With creamy malty aromas and hints of caramel, pecan, and butterscotch, Roxanne Blend is crafted from the finest Arabica and Robusta beans. Perfect for espresso or your favorite cup in the morning. At My Brother's Cup, every purchase supports medical and humanitarian missions, helping victims of trafficking. Enjoy quality, care, and a cause you can believe in. Visit mybrotherscup.com and make a difference with every sip. Roxanne Blend. Great coffee, greater good.
Roxanne and Ace Unlimited with the most wonderful guests on this, the most important week of the year for Christianity. And who better to deliver our address for Easter than this phenomenal man, just an incredible pastor of Union Springs Missionary Baptist Church in Talladega. His book, oh my goodness, I refer to it often. It's called Your Daily Dose, Daily Offerings of Spiritual Encouragement. I bought my copy on Amazon. I just had a girlfriend who had to get one because it's with me at the coffee shop. Awesome. So we welcome Eugene L. Jacobs. Hi there.
Hello. Thank you for having us again.
Well, Pastor, I know that, being Easter week, there's always people that come just for Easter, but I
Right.
always like the unique perspective of how we can see this story different year after year. So bring some uniqueness to this story for us this year.
That's amazing that you brought that up. I was just talking to a senior pastor in our region, and he said, man, I've been pastoring for 41 years, and I don't see how people can keep trying to bring up new messages about Resurrection Sunday or Easter. And I told him, I said, just preach the gospel. It may sound old to some, but the gospel is the gospel. But there is one thing that stands out to me specifically that a lot of people don't pay attention to. And that's in Matthew chapter 27, around verses 62 through 66. Can I read that for you?
Yeah.
Please.
It says, now the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that the deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made until the third day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, he is risen from the dead. So the last era shall be worse than the first. Pilate said unto them, ye have a watch, go your way, make it as sure as you can, or as secure as you can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. That's amazing to me, that these religious leaders, these Pharisees who gave Jesus opposition for the entire 3 years of his earthly ministry, they caught some of the things that Jesus said. He didn't just say one time that he was going to raise from the dead. They asked him one time, show us a sign. He said, I'm not going to give you a sign except the sign of Jonah. For 3 days, Jonah was in the belly of the fish that was prepared for him. I'll be in the heart of the earth 3 days. I'll raise again. There's another time where Jesus says, tear this temple down and I will raise it again in 3 days. They thought that he was talking about Solomon's temple. All right. And then Jesus said on multiple other occasions that he was going to be handed over to his enemies. They were going to kill him. He even told them he knew that they were going to kill him, but he was going to raise from the dead on 3 days. So it's just interesting to me, Ace and Roxanne, that on the third day, the Pharisees were expecting something. Even though they didn't have the faith to expect Jesus to raise up out of the dead on his own in the spectacular, miraculous way that he did, they were expecting something. But where was Jesus's disciples, his inner circle? Where were Peter and James and John? Where were they? They were hiding. But the Pharisees were making sure that Jesus's tomb was secure because they thought something was going to happen.
That is just astounding to me. Isn't it just the wily enemy, just how smart and cunning he is? You know, we think we have it all figured out. And I'm not saying the Pharisees were the devil, but certainly a tool that, helped to lead to the death of our Christ, who thankfully
Right.
rose again.
Right.
There's a question in here somewhere. But isn't it just like life that the Pharisees had more faith, I guess that's what we're saying, than the disciples who were hiding? How scary is that?
Jesus did call them children of the devil. He said, you are of your father, the devil. So it very well could have been that Satan helped them to believe something. But either way it goes, they heard naturally what Jesus said. They didn't process it internally, and they didn't process it by faith. It's amazing to me for a group of people to have a front row seat to many of the miracles that Jesus performed. John said that Jesus performed so many miracles that all the books of the world can't even contain the works that he did. You think the Pharisees missed out on any of that or much of that? No, of course not. Just a few days before that, they caught word that 2 miles down the road, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead after being buried for 4 days in the cave. So the Pharisees, they got word of that. They conspired to kill Jesus even quicker then. That's what accelerated them wanting to go and figure out a way to get him, especially because the Passover was coming. They knew a lot of people were in town. If they heard about Jesus with this type of power, surely they would believe on Jesus. But it's just amazing that these Pharisees, these children of the devil, could witness such miracles and then come to have this expectation for him to get up. And still, it doesn't process internally.
Well, and how much of that too still applies in that how well we represent God or Christ also comes from a fear of not really knowing him well enough, so that when other people are judging things that God is clearly doing, and I don't know if that's God, that's medicine, right, or that's, science, or that, whatever. But that day and age, people were worried about, well, if I follow Jesus or I back him up, then what does that say about me? But really, that is what it is. It is us as believers saying, I am backing him up because he's got my back.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, for people back then, it was hard for certain ones to believe on the Jesus who was clearly doing miracles in front of them. Today, sure, it's harder, but Jesus told Thomas something, that you believe because you see, but blessed are those who believe and have not seen. For us believers today, I believe that a lot of people don't believe the way that they should because they don't see that example in us. And I wonder, and I think this is kind of the undertone of what you're asking, Ace, I wonder if we're really convicted and convinced about this Jesus that we worship. How much do we actually believe?
Ooh, that's powerful. What do you think? And I know this is a sidebar. That the stone is rolled away, they arrive, and there's an angel, and the first thing the angel says is, "Do not be afraid." Isn't that like us? We're just afraid. That seems to be our first reaction. But I always look at that and think the angel had to tell them, "Do not be afraid." What do you think of that?
As human beings, we're only used to what we have seen. We a lot of times we measure things or we judge things based on evidence of what's happened before. We haven't seen things of biblical proportions the way that the people in the Bible did, but I have seen miracles. I'm an active miracle myself. I know that God has healed my own body when the doctor had me in the office crying over my condition at one point. But even for those in the Bible who saw those things, it seems like Jesus' miracles just kept getting more and more awesome. Just you still the storm, you're walking on water, you're feeding 5,000 with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. You raise a man from the dead after 4 days. What else can you do? But this getting up out of the grave when there's not another Jesus to call him up out of the grave, how does that happen? So that message, fear not, it is definitely a pertinent message to those believers, those disciples that were there, because they had never seen this before. And it is this miracle of Jesus getting out of the grave that our very salvation rests on, because it proves who he is, Roxanne.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Feels so good.
Yes, it does.
Eugene, one of the things that kind of resonates with me, especially Lent leading up to Easter, is in the sacrifices that we say, okay, I'm giving up blank, insert whatever that sacrifice is. But then the thirst and the hunger that we have for that by not gorging ourselves on it. So whether that's social media or food or alcohol or whatever it might be that's keeping us from a closer relationship with God, what does it take for us to have the same hunger and the same desire to have a bigger appetite for Christ in our life?
Wow, it takes us not waiting until Lent to do those things. Fasting and prayer has got to be a part of our daily lives, our weekly lives. It's got to be incorporated into our worship. Worship is a 24/7 thing. I remember fasting for 70 days, no meat, no bread, no sweets. And that meant that I couldn't drink the sodas and the juices that I liked so much. I had to drink water. Yeah. And during that 70-day period, it was like I heard spirits in my own flesh telling me I need this. I was smelling things that were not there. If I passed by a billboard, I could smell what Jack's French fries smelled like. But at the end of that 70 days, that's when I first started being serious about fasting. At the end of it, I couldn't wait for it to be over, and I jumped right back into those gluttonous habits that I had. And I learned that this has got to be something that we don't do just one time, just because it's a beginning of the year goal or it's Lent or the pastor ordained a 21-day fast. This is something that we've got to do on a regular basis to train ourselves. Paul says, I bring my body under subjection. He talked about it like he was training for a boxing match, shadow boxing. I've got to train myself so that Jesus becomes my number one priority and not the things of the world.
Ooh, I love it. Oh, Pastor Eugene, we've been so looking forward to hearing from you on this special week. We know that you're going to deliver just an incredible sermon, Easter Sunday. How can people check you out and what you're doing at your church?
You can find us on the Union Springs Missionary Baptist Church Facebook page, on my personal page, Eugene L. Jacobs, or on YouTube, The Word Made Plain.
All right, so Easter week, we each have our vibes. So Roxanne, what's going on?
So this is going to sound heavy, but it's really good. It's the book called You Only Die Once. I mean, what kind of a book am I reading?
It's true.
How to make it to the end with no regrets. I'm in a season of my life where I want to just make the most out of every day. Mm-hmm. And this is very interesting. It's backed by research, and it shows that people are either pleasure people or they're purpose people. Mm-hmm. I mean, just gunning for that purpose. A lot of us Christians for Christ, but we don't give ourselves much pleasure. And the idea is a mix of both is what you're looking for. And one of the biggest ways to bring more pleasure to your life is novelty. doing new things, not just keeping the same routines, so that you're growing, so that there's romance in the relationship. And the number one indicator of your happiness until we pass away and we see Jesus is your relationships. The quality of your relationships matters. Feed into those you love. Make time for them. So it's a great read if you have time for it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, my vibe this week, I know, ties into something you and I both really love, which is Sting. And we both had a chance to see him live. So last weekend was, Saturday was Record Store Day. And limited first pressing release was Sting 3.0 live. So it is a double album that has a combination of Police and solo stuff. And what I love is on side B, Roxanne. And what's cool about the live version is for I didn't time it, but it felt like a good minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. He's singing to the crowd and they're chanting your name back. So he's going, Roxanne, and they're going, Roxanne. And it's just, and I was like, I need to lift that cut and just send it to her. Because I'm like, how awesome would that have been if you had been at that show and they're all singing your name? It was fantastic. And it was one of only 2 copies they had at the record store. So I felt very blessed to have grabbed that one. So if you're a Sting fan, I recommend it. We want to say thanks to Pastor Eugene as well as 4C Mortgage and My Brother's Cup for making another Good Friday a great Friday. But have a great and blessed Easter, Roxanne. I love you.
Love you.
You've been listening to Roxanne and Ace Unlimited. To make sure you don't miss future shows, you can subscribe anywhere you like to podcast and catch up on anything you've missed. Find out more at RoxanneandAce.com. Roxanne and Ace Unlimited is a production of Spacebird Media.